influence in our industry. An organization will put out, well, we enrolled 120 students this month in our school. Yes, but it cost you.
Are you looking for a way to drive growth, sales, communication, and retention in your academy? Kovar Systems 6-month Program Director course is designed to help members of your team thrive in the important role of Program Director. With step-by-step training, we will cover a wide range of topics, including prospect follow-up, overcoming objection, and securing enrollments. Our program will teach your team members to effectively communicate the values and benefits of martial arts, which can be a game changer in securing more enrollments at your academy. Our next 6-month course starts on this date, so don't wait and visit our site www.kovarsystems.com to get your team enrolled in the upcoming course. Again, that's www.kovarsystems.com. Enroll now and get ready to see some real results in your business.
Welcome to the Satori Lifestyle Satori Masters Podcast, the ultimate resource for ambitious, hardworking school owners that want to get their business and their life to the next level. My name is Dave Kovar. I'm a lifetime martial artist, business owner, speaker, and author. My goal is to empower listeners with the knowledge and the tools they need to break through barriers and really get their business and their life to the next level. Thanks for watching and enjoy. Welcome to the Satori Masters Podcast. I'm your host, Dave Kovar. I'm super excited about my special guest today, Master Chris Rappold. How are you, sir?
Always good to be with you, and I am doing fantastic. Thank you.
So Master Rappold is one of my favorite people on the planet. We've known each other for, I think, over 30 years now, man. It's been like
yes, sir.
Time. And you've heard this story like a bunch of times, but I'm going to tell it to the audience that hasn't. As I remember it was at an EFC event in the early 90s. I remember at the time you would have been 8 years old, just older. And you came up to me and asked questions. You were just so articulate and polite. And I remember thinking, this guy is going places. And on top of that, being just the amazing athlete that you are, it's amazing to see what you've accomplished in the last 30 years.
Well, a lot of good mentors, sir. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. And, look, the good fortune of how fortunate was I to start my school around the time of the Karate Kid and the Ninja Turtles and the Power Rangers. So my degree, as you know, was in exercise physiology, but I didn't have the first clue about how to run a martial arts school. So how fortunate I was to do it at that time and be surrounded by so many people that were willing to share, and to have the influx of people that we had back in the day. So even if I made a mistake, it wasn't just the end of the world. So yeah.
It's I guess as you age, you look back at things different, but it's a great time to be in the martial arts industry right now. Absolutely. But that was kind of the goal.
Oh, for sure.
That was kind of the age back then, kind of like it was the business systems were, being shared freely, and the phone was ringing off the hook, and it was a unique time. So kind of a few things. So first off, I'd love for you to share with everyone just kind of your background and your training, where you started, where was your emphasis?
Sure.
We'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started when I was 13 years old. I'm 54 now, so that's 41 years in the martial arts. And I've never taken a break. I've always loved it. And it's been a lot of fun. I started in the YMCA for a 6-week program when I was in 6th grade. And then I trained with someone out of like his garage for a year and a half or so. And then I had the good fortune. I had a cousin of mine invite me to his martial arts school. And he seemed really happy with it, and I didn't know who it was, but it turned out to be Billy Blanks, the gentleman that started. The audience would probably know from Taibo, but you and I know what an amazing martial artist he was back in the day when he was, doing professional bodybuilding, and he was a Golden Gloves boxer, and he was top in the the country or the world in point karate. So again, good fortune.
I have to stop you right there. I remember one time this would have been in the early 80s. He came out to a tournament in California, and he was talking about who's this guy. And I think he was like a AAU champion back then, but he had not yet really burst onto like the open karate circuit too much then. And
right.
You're talking about this guy, Billy Blanks. And I remember him watching him warm up, and the stuff he was doing was whole nother level, like incredible. Now, when the match actually went on, he kept it more basic for the most part, but just watching it was like, oh, that's what an athlete who knows martial arts looks like. That was
Yeah.
anyway. So
Yeah. And very much, I think probably, before his time, you would agree, maybe, because there was still a stigma about, well, you don't want to lift weights because it's going to hurt your flexibility and all of that. And he was somebody that, I admired at the time just because he did seem to take it to another level, above and beyond his peers. And certainly had a great fighters at that time around. So that was my kind of upbringing coming up through him. So obviously, sport karate is where I landed, and had been doing that really my whole life. 20 years as a competitor, and then in when I was 42, I was named the executive director of Team Paul Mitchell.
and then you'd already been on the team for 20 years.
Yes, so this is our 37th year, and I was picked up at the end of year one.
Wow.
So yeah, so I've been along for the whole ride, and again, good fortune. How fortunate that this regional team that happened to pick me up, that nobody even knew. They thought Don Rodriguez was Paul Mitchell. It wasn't. Nobody knew exactly what to make of it, and but that team, of course, has gone on to become the gold standard in sport karate, and holds so many world records and such, and to be a part.
Best sport karate team ever, they're the second best, third best, and fourth best, probably. Like there's no one even been in the same.
Yeah, yeah. Well, again, good fortune. There's never been a corporate sponsorship that has lasted nearly 40 years,
Right.
and we've had about 150 or so of the greatest competitors of the past 3 decades on our team, and it's amazing. Actually, I have one of them here with me. He's actually downstairs, Sam Diaz. He came up to train with me from Connecticut, so he's here, and so shout out to him. But yeah, it's it started with sport karate, but then to be able to meet so many people in the sport karate world that, of course, all have different martial art backgrounds, and then to come up from the age of 21 as a professional martial artist doing what I do as a teacher, to be exposed to people like yourself and so many others, and to be shaped and influenced. It's been amazing.
Well, and I have to shout out, although is a 7-time world champion. Is that right? Is that the number?
Listen, you exaggerate any way you want. I mean, hopefully in another few years it'll. No, I was able to win four WACO World Championships and one ISKA, so 5.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. But on top of that, just you do. I mean, you do jitsu, you do Muay Thai with Guru Mark Delagrade, and so
Right.
personal, which is of course one of the things that I respect so much. So tell us about your professional. You opened up your first school at 21. So
21. I graduated in May, and I opened in July. And I thought to myself, I remember signing the lease and thinking to myself, boy, I hope this works, but again, just flyering the parking lot across the street from me, and it started. And again, not really knowing how, was a martial artist, but didn't, as you well know, being a martial artist and providing, owning a business that provides that services, that's different skill sets. But with good mentoring and shortening my learning curve, I was able to, grow that school. And of course, in the day that when you had 1,000 students in your school, our first school, we went, I think, as high as 550, in that first location. And then we decided to open a second and, a third, and, we have 4 now.
were you always personal best? Would you open as personal best?
We were, yeah. I think.
I have to say, because you're 21 years old and you were insightful enough because I love the title. I would love what it represents, because one of the things that I never say anything, but when someone says we're the best, it's kind of like, well, compared to what, right? And so for you at a young age to kind of just see the difference between that and say, no, it's personal best, I think that's pretty insightful.
Yeah, thank you. it's really become my life's work. And I think so much, people like yourself inspire me, but a lot of times inspiration, of seeing what other people do, I think can actually be a demotivator to people, because if I take the perspective of I'm never going to be as good as you or this person or that person, we fall, it's so easy to fall into that comparison based mindset. So the idea of personal best, I believe, is the highest standard, because if you're really following it, it's I have to compare my results today to my results yesterday, and I need to be able to up my game. So it is, if you're, if you're really doing it, to me, it's the highest standard, because any other basis of comparison is not apples to apples. It's like, so Billy Blank's the person who we were talking about earlier. You're talking about somebody that had a work ethic like the Amish and had God-given natural ability, full splits, and, could bench press 500 pounds. I mean, it was just freakish. So, if that was the standard that I was going to compare myself to, I might as well
And
quit now,
And the flip side to the point of personal best being a great standard is that also you've got someone that doesn't have a lot of skill and doesn't work very hard, and you think I'm better than them, so that's good enough. So personal best means I can't stop there either. It's like you're comparing yourself with your potential, not with others. And anyway.
So
So
we have a 3 mile run, and we got it many years ago, and we always did the kind of the was it the Marine standard of 3 miles in 24 minutes. Well, we had one of our students come and do it in like a little over 17 minutes, and we didn't pass him because he was a state champion, and he knew, he was weaving in and out of people, and it just wasn't his best. So we had him repeat the run at the time, and he did it in 16:35, which is, as I mean, that is flying. That stood for 20 years, and until somebody, just recently beat it. But like first degree to second degree, it all becomes beating your previous time. There is always going to be those outliers that, they devote so much time to running. But there's a shirt that we're we're actually doing for the holiday, and I have to say I love it. And Master KC is the person I have to give the credit to. But it's a personal best shirt, and across the chest it says "Me versus me."
I love it.
And because so many times we see, it's me versus the world, or this versus that, and it's, to me, I have no interest in it. I am only focused just on what I'm doing, and that fills my plate and my time just fine.
Well, I think Abe Lincoln was the person. Of course, nowadays with the quotes, you never know where they came from because people will pull
Right.
Is comparison is the thief of joy. And I think it's such a really good line. And what's interesting? I was this morning. I was getting ready to do a post, a video post, and I couldn't quite articulate it, but it's kind of related to this. And that is, do you have to make other people? How often do you see someone saying, we're the best, and these guys aren't any good? And just in every field, it's in martial arts. It's as far as martial arts styles. It's also as far as consulting businesses, but there's different ways to do it. Do you have to make someone else wrong? And the theme with personal best is I'm not worried about what anybody else is doing. I'm just doing my own thing
Right.
to the best of my abilities.
I think again, I'm very biased to it because it doesn't do harm to anybody. It keeps the karma good, because it's
From
not,
Boston,
I'm trying.
the comma.
I picked that up on myself. I didn't know if you were going to catch that, but I heard it. And I'm like, oh, so karma, excuse me. And it allows me to totally focus on where my focus should be, which is on what I'm doing. The thing that we can control is our daily actions and our habits, our rituals. And to me, that's like a full-time job. And I think we'll go a lot further if we do that. And also, too, that's a game we can all win. Not everybody is going to be a Super Bowl champion. but everybody has an opportunity to be the best version of themselves. And so that's what I like about it. Yeah.
Absolutely. By the way, I don't know if you knew this, I'm a world champion as well. I'm a world
Oh my
champion
God.
at loving martial arts.
A grandmaster at that for sure.
Hey, so why, in your experience, you've been in business a really long time, and of course, so what do you think? Of course, I'm feeding you this question, but the connection of remembering your mission and how it affects your business. In other words, is it important to have this not just to be more than just a business, a passion, or can you just run it like you would if you're selling widgets?
There may be some people that could. It's not something that I could do. Um, where we are very mission driven, and I actually have two people here, believe it or not. I have one of my jujitsu coaches here, and then I have one of my friends from Team Paul Mitchell, and we just came out of an hour conversation where we were talking about culture, and that's something that it can't be copied, it can't be replicated. Excuse me, it can, but it's very difficult. You you know, I could copy an ad that you put that says, karate teaches self-confidence, self-control, self-discipline, or I can put the student creed and the black belt principles up in the school and I can make it look like your school. But when you talk about culture or mission, you're talking about how you feel and how other people feel when they're in the environment of your school. And that's not something that can be faked. It's not something that can be achieved by putting a sign up. It has to be felt, and it has to be sincere. It has to be authentic. It has to be through and through. And I think, you know, having the longevity then that we've been able to enjoy, I would burn out if it was not authentic, because and then you have, there's a lot, martial arts schools are getting better and better. We have some excellent, amazing martial artists around this very area where personal best is, and frankly, I'm happy about that. But you know, the idea of not being mission driven, where competition is always requiring you to up your game and, you know, to be inauthentic about that, I don't know how I'd be able to sustain it.
Yeah, I kind of feel like, I mean, you nailed it, is that if you don't, there's the only way to stay in this industry for a really long time is you have to believe in what you're doing. And of course, we've talked about this before, but there's three primary types of motivation. There's desperation, inspiration, and purpose. And if your purpose isn't clear, desperation and motivation and inspiration are temporary. It's having a real clear purpose. And you touched on something else. You'd mentioned that there's other really high quality martial arts schools around you, and you're happy for that. I think it's just worth, kind of talking about that for a minute, because what's not that I want anybody open up and directly across the street from our schools, because that's kind of no fun. But if it does happen, what are the end results? How does it really affect your business? Well, for most people that are doing it right, they're going to roll their sleeves up and they're going to make their product better. And because of that, they're going to end up retaining their students longer. And if someone has 200 members in their school, and let's just say they had never opened up, out of those 200 members, there's not 200 people training at other schools in the area. There's maybe 20 that are. The rest of the people we've created. And so it's so important that if you do have competitors in the area, hey, hope they're good, because if they're bad, that hurts us all, because
Right.
if I do a lousy job in Sacramento, it actually affects you negatively in the Boston area, because I have a student that has a cousin that lives in your neighborhood, and they say, we tried karate, man. Don't ever do that. That was the worst thing ever. But if I do a good job, you benefit, vice versa.
Right. A long time ago, actually, Don Rodriguez, my coach, and again, this was when I was, 21 and just starting. And I remember asking him about, somebody's asking me about, another martial arts school, and I want to persuade them to train with us, and I don't want to say anything bad about that person, so how do you deal with that? And I just, as a 21-year-old, I was asking him, and at the time he said, just I haven't personally seen their school, which for that particular case was the truth, but just focus on what you're doing, kind of the personal best thing. This is what we do in this school is this, and is that what you're looking for? Then this might be worth exploring. But I don't ever want to feel like I'm getting ahead because I'm having to pull somebody down. I want to get ahead because the product and the service of what we provide is better, and I have a better level of influence than I did a year ago, or I'm a better leader than I was a year ago. And I want people to be attracted to that. But I think you can only get so far. First of all, it's out of my character, as it is, I know yours, to you and I just don't vibe with people that talk negatively about other people. I just don't want to live that kind of life. So I would much rather be totally genuine and say, well, this is what they do, and you may want to check that out, and this is what we do, and let that person decide. And
Absolutely.
life is good. And if I would rather have that get back to somebody else that's running a martial arts school in the area. I just did a career day a few weeks ago, and in one of the classes, how many people do martial arts? Oh yeah, where do you train? And you know, um, I was very complimentary of their martial arts instructor,
Sure.
and I want that to get back to them. I'm not doing it for that reason. I don't have anything to gain, but I hope it's a nice message. As an industry, we want to be working together. There's no,
How many
there's
times have people not done that? And like I said, it gets back to you. And it was, what was the point of that? You're not going to look better by trying to make somebody else look bad. It doesn't work that way. Most people figure it out really quickly. If
yeah,
I'm slamming you and you're not slamming me, the people on the other side go, "Huh, well, interesting."
right,
It's a
yeah,
reflection of me if I do that.
right. And then like I'm a fan of martial arts. I If I could clone myself, I'd probably be a dot on every in every martial arts school. So I don't. There's just not a need, or I have no desire to speak ill of what somebody else does. I'm more of a fan of it, to be honest with you, of all of them. Yeah.
So tell me, along the way, you've been in business a long time. You've learned, I'm sure, a lot. What's something that you've learned from, like a mistake? What'd you do wrong that you learned from? I'm sure there's more than one thing, but what jumps out at you?
I'm overwhelmed. Um, let me say that. I'll, let me say being in tune with the numbers. So I will give you an example. Back when we had a school of, that 550 number, I want to say we had 75 plus people that were on some kind of a scholarship in our school. So I was giving with my heart because I just, I wanted to be able to help people, and I didn't understand that, well, that's all well and good, but there is a level of help and support that we could financially sustain. So that was the start of many, 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 many times, um, uh, making sure that the impulse I have uh, made financially sound sense, and it was something that I, could sustain. Sometimes we're doing an analysis of all our numbers, because we're coming up on year end. And, we reported the numbers, but now what we're doing is we're delving in deep behind what those numbers mean. And sometimes we go on gut. And if we go on gut that this is a good thing. So I'm going to just pick a stupid example. Let's say leads. You have this company you're working with, and they're generating. My God, they generated 1,000 leads for us this year. We definitely got to keep them this year. Well, let's delve in. Let's check how many of those leads ended up having any conversation with us. Out of all of the people that had a conversation with us, how many of those people actually ended up, showing up in becoming students? So if we don't pay attention, not just to the superficial number, but if we don't drill down in that example all the way down to leads to new students, we can be making some very, very bad decisions that will have harm for us in 2024. So there's so many examples of that. Rent, you look at, paying whatever you're paying for rent, and you say, oh, gee, I'm paying too much rent. Well, we got to delve into that. How many people are you getting because you have that prime location? Maybe when you run the numbers,
Right.
that rent that you're paying, you're getting a steal on that because of all of the walk-in traffic that you're getting. Or conversely, you have a high profile location, but it's really not benefiting you because you're not getting the walk-in traffic. You'd be better off getting a secondary location and paying less and putting more money into advertising. So, I mean, there's
Yeah,
just
no,
kind of,
what
I,
you're
I,
talking about. Go ahead.
yeah, I was just going to say, I know all those examples, unfortunately, because I've made all of those mistakes.
Well,
That's the seasoning, right, that you get with time.
so one of the things that, of course, I know you in helping out other martial arts schools, you've pushed the importance of stats, as I have. And I remember when we first started keeping stats, it was just to keep stats. And what you're kind of saying is, okay, the stats are great, but how do we? It really, what can you learn from them, and how you can benefit from those? It's interesting. A couple of weeks back, I was at an event, and this gentleman came up afterwards who's got a school, and he wanted to get some input from me. And I only had a few minutes, and he wanted some advice as to what he can do to grow a school. And so I asked him, how many students? Well, he thinks he has about 140, and I go, well, how, and I asked him basic stats, and he had no clue. And to in his defense, I go, are you supporting your family? Yeah, I'm making a living. I'm supporting my family. Okay, that's awesome. That's impressive. And now, so my advice to him was, the first thing you got to do is you got to know, and I gave him some basic stats. You got to know what those are, because
Right.
otherwise, to your point, you have no idea where you're weak and where you're strong. And so, but for those school owners that are out there that aren't really tight on your stats, it's not just so you can rattle them off. The first thing you have to do is get in the habit of taking the statistics, and they mean nothing if you only do it for 1 month. You've got to kind of let it run for a while, right? So you can see the trends, but then, man, they can be so helpful and empowering. And because often your gut isn't always as right as much as you think when it comes to your business, and the numbers don't
Right.
lie.
Right. And something that both you and I see, and we know that sometimes for the sake of creating influence in our industry, an organization will put out, well, we enrolled 120 students this month in our school. Well, I'm just going to pick an example. Yes, but it cost you, this, or what are you considering a student? Yes, you had 120 students come in for one class and they never came back, and
Right.
they never paid you any money. We don't even consider those people students. Or, there's so many ways to influence. People can bend the numbers.
Sure.
So I think what I'm saying, and I know what you're saying, is we're encouraging, give some deep thought, not just for the sake of keeping the numbers or being able to rattle off to a industry leader and say, I know my stats, but delve deeper. What do they mean, and how do they compare given your personal demographics? And you and I, back in the day, I went to Fred Degeberg's for the first time, and he had put his stats up, and I swear I thought they were monthly stats. They were weekly stats. So he had 28 info calls. I thought we were talking about the month, I was probably there on a Thursday night and they had already had 28 calls. But you're talking about Chicago. You're talking about at the time he had, it was Yellow Pages. It was $100,000 for his Yellow Page ad. And, the
Guys hear that?
content.
That's a real number, by the way. That's what we used to pay for Yellow Pages. We never paid that much, but he had a full page ad in Chicago Yellow Pages.
Right, $100,000. And, so, but the density of the population that he has to pull from compared to, somebody, in the suburbs, it's, again, you get into, there's inspiration, but sometimes, we can delve over and we can get into comparison, and that's where I think it can be a demotivator. So drilling down, I think, is super important for business success and personal success, and still take inspiration from people, but just watch that line.
Yep. Good. Well, one more question for you. So,
Sure.
what advice would you give for somebody that is maybe they're new to the business, they've been a while, but they're struggling. They haven't quite maybe recovered from COVID yet, and they're kind of disillusioned, and they're wondering if this is the right career for them, and second guessing where they're at. What would you tell them?
So if I can, I'm going to go a couple different ways. One is that I think we all have a genius inside of us that we're given. So let's imagine that this person really knows deep down in their heart and their soul that their gift in life is to teach martial arts and to influence people through the art that they teach. So if we're talking about that type of person, I would encourage and I would remind them that they're one phone call away from talking to somebody like yourself or other, leaders in our industry that are giving, caring people. One phone call away, one little shift of perspective, one little change can start the ball moving in the other direction. I love I love the simplicity of I heard, and I'm sure you have one time, somebody say, "Do you feel you could wreck your school?" Yeah, I could wreck my school. That'd be pretty easy. Well, if you accept the fact that you could hurt your school, you cannot not accept the fact that you can help your school.
I know I can make it
So,
better because I can make it worse. Yep.
yeah, okay, well, yeah, there you go. So if somebody really, they know in their heart, in their soul, this is their calling and this is what their genius is, make the call, reach out to somebody, um, uh, do that. Look to see how you can simplify things. I think in the age of now AI coming on and internet and just an overwhelming amount of information, the other thing that I would say to that person is look to simplify, simplicity. So many times we have so much information coming at us from this consultant and that consultant and this and that. And, it's almost like you end up just getting stagnated because you just don't even, what to do, but you don't even know what to do next, So getting around somebody that has been there, done that, and can help give you a level of clarity and certainty so you know the right actions to take. I would say that would be the best
Great advice.
the best thing.
One of the things that you touched on, I just want to elaborate, is when you said it's like all you need is a shift of the momentum. You just need to get the momentum going in the right direction. I had a discussion with a client 2 days ago, and their school is slipping. It's moving in the wrong direction. And it's been a slow, steady. And what did we talk about? We talked about, he was concerned, and rightfully so. He's catching it early, but really, we're never going to arrive. We're always arriving. We always got to get up tomorrow. Like success is fleeting, right? You're successful today, but you still got to get up and do your thing tomorrow. But all you need is that spark of of direction. And then it's just a matter of trying to keep that momentum going. So, if you're struggling out there, I love it. You find somebody, a mentor that, not just the other guy down the street that's also struggling. I'm amazed by how many people, misery loves company, right? They're looking for someone else that school's not doing well, so they can say, yeah, me neither, and they can vent, versus finding someone that's really going to inspire them to take some steps to just move it in the right direction.
Yeah, the if I may add on to that, I think sometimes when, people look at like they see, oh my God, it's Hanshi Dave Kovar, and but having you as a friend for so many years, what makes you who you are is you've had every single struggle that any of us could possibly have, and probably then some. So sometimes people may be intimidated to make that call and say, geez, Hanshi, I heard you on that podcast, but they're a little nervous to talk to you, but you they don't realize how much you relate to them, because you're not a consultant that's teaching from theory, or what they read in a book. You're somebody that lives it, breathes it, eats it, sleeps it, and has gone through the ringer on all of it. And so if that level of encouragement makes sense to somebody that's struggling to maybe have the courage to make the call and say, hey, you know what? I'm looking for some help here. Understand, if the person is worth their salt, they have been there, they've done that, they relate to you, and if they're the right person, that may be the best call you ever made.
Sure. Well, I do have to make one comment. You talk about I can identify. So a lot of people can identify with having to be as ruggedly handsome as I am all my life. That's been a
Gotta be, it's got to be a burden to carry. I mean, my God. Yeah.
Hey, Master Rappold, I always really enjoy speaking with you. You're just such a smart guy and such a inspiration.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate our friendship and hope it goes on for
Sure.
another years. And thanks for
Yes,
taking
sir.
time with us today.
Always a pleasure, Hanshi. Thank you so much. All right. Yes.
Are you a martial arts instructor looking to improve your teaching skills and build a strong team of future instructors? Well, look no further than the Satori Alliance, an international association of martial arts instructors. Our mission is to positively impact the global martial arts community by establishing a shared level of martial arts instruction, professionalism, and continuous learning. With our instructor certification program, you'll gain the confidence, communication skills, and classroom management techniques to run a professional and well-run martial arts floor of any age group. We invite you to schedule a free consultation with one of our program directors who can evaluate your instructor team's size, schedule, and training content. We'll outline the Satori Alliance master steps that have helped build and maintain strong teams of instructors. To learn more about the Satori Alliance and schedule your free consultation, please visit our website at www.thesatorialliance.com/podcast. That's SATORIALLIANCE.com/podcast. Join our community of passionate martial arts instructors today.
Thank you for tuning in today to our podcast. I hope you found it valuable and inspirational. To stay connected, please subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you go for your podcasts. If you enjoyed today's show, please give us a 5-star review. And we really sincerely would appreciate some feedback. Your feedback helps us to create high-quality content that will help others in the future. If you'd like to follow me, you can go to Dave Kovar on Facebook or Hanshi Dave Kovar on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on next episode.